The AIDS HIV community worldwide is riding a wave of hope tonight. That is because a vaccine for the disease is one step closer to a reality. Granted, the road to a vaccine remains a long one. Most people will admit to that. But a study in the most recent issue of Science magazine shows scientists have possibly found the basis for a vaccine. Researchers at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, well, they say they have discovered 3 human antibodies that work against most strains of HIV. Now, we're going to get reaction to this news now from 2 AIDS activists who are also HIV positive. I want to bring in Phil Wilson. He's with the Black AIDS Institute. And also Sherry Lewis is an AIDS activist. Good to see both of you. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Great, Don,
great,
thank
especially
you.
since this news, right? Sherry, I'm going to start with you. What's your immediate reaction when you heard a vaccine could one day be available?
Well, I've been hearing that for a long time, so I was skeptical at first, and then I did some of the reading that's been online, and, you know, the fact that this is, going across the board for 91% of the strains, which has been the real hurdle, in finding a vaccine, an effective vaccine, is that there were so many strains. But 91% of that, if it's crossing over, is very, very promising.
Yeah,
and
that is.
I'm cautiously optimistic. I've always been very conservative about medicines and treatments, but 25 years later, I'm glad I've been cautious.
Yeah, you're right. It does sound promising. Before I get to Phil, what's a teddy bear for, Sherry?
Oh, this is Dab the AIDS bear. You actually have 3 guests. He's one of the oldest AIDS activists, and you can see he looks fabulous. He hasn't changed a bit. He's been saving lives and comforting babies with AIDS since the early 80s, raising money and awareness. And
what's his name again?
Google him. Dab the AIDS bear.
Okay, well, welcome to him as well.
I didn't wear my red ribbon.
Yeah, he doesn't have a microphone, so we can't talk to him. I want to get Phil in on this. Phil, many years of talking about a vaccine. You and I have spoken. I've seen you everywhere. You've been an activist for years and on the front lines with this. What do you think?
Well, this is fantastic news regarding to HIV vaccines. We've not had as good news regarding HIV vaccine development in a long time. Actually, it's 99% of the strains of HIV this combination of antibodies will address. This is the beginning. We're a long way away, but it is very exciting news as we move forward. Clearly, a vaccine is our best hope to ending the AIDS epidemic, and this gives us hope that we'll get there. The question now is if we can develop. Now, we know that the body can develop the antibodies. We've been finding antibodies along the way, but they've been few and far between. But now we know that the body can develop antibodies. The question now is that if we can get you and me and Sherry and all of us to develop these antibodies, and then we certainly will be on our way to finding a vaccine.
You bring up a good point because there's so much stigma around HIV and AIDS. So what about getting this vaccine if you have to? Who should get it? What do you think? Do you think there will be a stigma, Phil?
Well, I think that certainly we need to do a lot of education, but one of the take-home messages is that research is important, and it's important for us to be involved in doing research, and particularly, Don, when you look at the demographics of the AIDS epidemic in the U.S., this is a case study on why it's important for everybody, but particularly Black Americans, to get involved in research. The person who they first found this antibody is a Black gay man, and so that's further evidence of why we should be engaged. And I think that's one of the steps in dealing with the stigma as well.
And at the same time, knowing that it's an equal opportunity offender.
That's right.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So,
it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight, black, white, or whatever it is. It really doesn't.
Well,
the disease
right.
doesn't discriminate.
And
But Sherry, hey, listen, I got to move on because I'm going to ask about this. There's been some talk around public health administrators, how they should distribute this. Some says they should basically require every college student to get it if they want to enroll in school. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that's if they want to, they do their research, they gather their information. I'm, like I said, cautiously optimistic, but I think it might be a very good idea. College campuses, which I've spent many years on as an educator, it's a petri dish for for HIV infection.
Wow.
So it's not a bad idea. Yeah, well, I'm
Yeah.
on the campus of UCLA out here, but I've been throughout different campuses on the East Coast as well.
So Sherry and Phil, I want to get you real quickly, and I just have just a little bit left. You know, this isn't, when you say vaccine, it doesn't mean that it's over. So what about risky behavior? You think this could lead to that?
Well, I think that certainly we have to continue to work around prevention, but I think your question raises the other part of it. You know, a vaccine is a part of it. But what we really need is a national AIDS strategy. And it's exciting that this development is unveiled on the eve of the Obama administration releasing the first ever national AIDS strategy. So it can't just be a vaccine. We need to talk about prevention. We need to talk about treatment for people living with HIV, and we need to continue to work on research.
That's going to have to be the last word. Thank you, Phil Wilson. Thank you, Sherry Lewis, and thanks to the bear. The bear is cute. I'm sorry I didn't get it in on the conversation. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Don.